Thank you guys so much for watching. I am back for an aquarium update. A few weeks ago, we planted this aquarium together, and I wanted to give you an update because a lot has been going on with this tank. As you can see, we've got a lot of algae buildup in this tank, and I believe it's a couple different kinds, and I know exactly where I went wrong. So I first noticed the algae about a week after planting this tank. So I thought, oh, I have a couple nerites in another tank, nerite snails. So I moved one into this tank, and there he is. Nerite snails are recommended for algae problems in tanks. This guy finally righted himself, but soon after this, he did die. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I went out and grabbed a Chinese algae eater. Chinese algae eaters are also known to be great algae eaters in fish tanks. There are a lot of different creatures that can eat algae. Some are better eaters of algae than others. So given that my snail had died, this Chinese algae eater has a lot of algae to eat all by his lonesome. So to help out the algae eater, I decided to grab 50 ghost shrimp from a aquarium store in Hilliard, Ohio, and they were super cheap. Ghost shrimp are mostly used as feeder type of fish, meaning that they're bought to feed other animals, but I've always had ghost shrimp as just, regular shrimp in the tank, like a beloved shrimp in a tank, because I do like them. They are kind of see-through, and I really like that about them. So here I am floating them, and when you're adding shrimp to a new tank, you probably want to do a different method than this. This proved to not go well for me. And the best way to acclimate shrimp is probably doing drip acclimation. And that's where you add little bits of tank water to the water that they're currently in the bag. And that gives them time to acclimate to the water parameters. Now you'll see me release the shrimp into my tank. And again, this is not the greatest way to acclimate shrimp to your aquarium. So I apologize to these shrimp. Next time I will do better, I promise. Shrimp are great for fish tanks because they do eat algae, they eat decaying matter, they eat fish poop. They are a good little cleaner upper for the aquarium. I like to watch them do their work. They're always eating something, they're always climbing on something, and they're just really cool to watch. So definitely a great add to your tank, whether you have, an algae issue or not. But you want to be careful though, because there are a lot of fish that do pick on shrimp, and you just want to make sure that you have, a friendlier tank if you want to have your shrimp survive. You can see the shrimp already getting to work on the algae. They are just little powerhouses for cleaning. Now, ghost shrimp are not the best shrimp that you can have for an algae issue. It's actually amano shrimp that are great algae eaters, but my local stores and were out of amano shrimp. And then when I went out to Hilliard, their stores their amount of shrimp were way too expensive. So I decided to just get the ghost shrimp. They do a great job on cleaning up tanks too. So I wasn't afraid that they wouldn't do the job. Now I'm adding in the new plant that I also bought when I got the ghost shrimp. I had it floating in a bag, but I don't think I really needed to do that. But we're gonna go ahead and put that in the tank now. Now, one thing, speaking from the future, this plant was loaded or infested with snail, and if you don't have the right kind of snail, they can take over your fish tank, eating everything. And so I didn't know this when I bought the plant, but I should have known, because where they pulled out this plant from, there were snails in that tank. They were bigger, but I didn't even think about being cautious of that. It's been its own project because I've seen other people's tanks infested with snails, and that's not something that I want. Now, snails are great at eating algae. Again, the nyrite snails are the best, but I don't know what kind of snails these are, and I don't want them all over my tank. So just be careful when you are purchasing plants from the pet stores that you might bring some snails home and you might get a little snail infestation. So this is the day after adding the ghost shrimp, and we lost so many shrimp. I didn't count them all, but that first day we lost probably at least 15 shrimp. And then each day after, there was like 1 or 2 here and there. The Chinese algae eater loves eating the dead shrimp. This guy will eat pretty much anything, I found out. And he is kind of chaotic in the tank. He swims around fast and slow, and he's up and he's down, he's all around, like he's kind of crazy. So I built this tank with the intention of it being able to compost its own waste. So fish waste, dead leaf matter, dead fish, that kind of thing. So typically I wouldn't remove the dead shrimp, but because I want the tank inhabitants, so the shrimp and the Chinese algae eater, not to feed on the dead shrimp. I want them to actually eat the algae. So I'm removing anything that could potentially be another food source so that they focus their energy on the algae in the tank. The reason why I'm having such a bad algae issue in my tank is because I have very strong grow lights and not enough plant growth in my tank. So I've started turning the lights off earlier and turning the strength of the lights down, and hopefully that will help reduce the amount of algae, along with the algae eater and the shrimp helping out. I love how as soon as I put this eggshell in, we already have shrimp exploring the shell. The algae eater came up to explore. They're very curious about what this is, and it is so exciting to see. This is what I want out of my tank. I want different viewpoints and different little cubbies where life and activity is happening, and putting this eggshell in is just a reminder to me of why I'm building this tank the way that I'm building this tank. After about a week, I decided that I needed more manpower on this algae job, so I grabbed 3 mystery snails. I would have gotten nerites, but again, my area was out, and mystery snails do a great job of cleaning up algae too. Another way to clean it up is by manually removing the algae, which I don't like to do. For some reason, I don't like putting my hands and arms into this fish tank. I don't like my arms in tank water, but it's something that has to be done. You know, when you are managing tanks, sometimes you're gonna have to put your hand in there and your arm, and it just is what it is. I will say this, that manually removing it helps so much. This hair algae attaches to literally everything and is quite unsightly to look at, and especially when you just put a tank together and you just want to see clear water, you know, you want your plants to look good, but instead they're covered in brown algae, and it's just kind of upsetting because this isn't a cheap hobby. I spent a lot of money on this, and the plants aren't cheap, and just, you know, sometimes it felt like everything that I did is just going down the toilet. Like, I've got this algae, it's never going to go away, it just keeps popping up. But I can tell you from the future that this tank is on the mend. Setting up this 40-gallon breeder tank was the easy part of this, but maintaining the plants, making sure you are providing the right amount of light, the right amount of fertilizer, and that your tank isn't getting overwhelmed by algae, overwhelmed by snails. Like this, I put a lot of thought into caring for this fish tank, and this one specifically gets a lot of my thoughts as opposed to my other 3 fish tanks. This is my 4th tank, and it is by far taking the most time. However, after everything that I've been doing, the algae is starting to disappear. The tank water is becoming much clearer, and while I've lost a few more ghost shrimp, I still have some in there, and it seems like things are finally starting to click. The plants are starting to grow, the algae is starting to disappear, and my snails and shrimp seem very happy right now. I feel like we've got a good balance going, and I hope to just continue to maintain this for years to come. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am not an expert at this. This is my first full year of seriously having planted tanks, and this tank specifically is my first aquascape. So let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video.